Let me start this episode with a question. When was the last time you actually stopped and asked yourself if you were okay? Not the automatic answer we all give, yeah, I'm fine. I mean, actually checking in with yourself. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of people walking around saying they're fine and are absolutely fucking not fine. They're stressed, they're burnt out, they're irritable, and they're exhausted. And they're pushing through it because somewhere along the way we were taught that stopping is weak, that taking time off is lazy, that if you're struggling mentally, you should just get on with it. And honestly, that mindset is complete bullshit. Because a few weeks ago, I did something a lot of people still feel weird admitting. I called in sick to work. Not because I had the flu, not because I physically couldn't get out of bed. I called in sick because I could feel the stress building up, and I knew if I didn't stop for a minute, it was going to start affecting everything. And looking back now, the signs were there for a while. You know, the little warning signals your brain gives you? Yeah, I was ticking them off one by one. I was getting irritable. People at work not pulling their fucking weight was starting to wind me up far more than it normally would. Little things were getting under my skin. My patience was basically gone. And the biggest red flag for me was this. I'd stopped doing the things that normally keep me grounded. I'd miss workouts, going to the gym, I'd skip walks, running, which normally clears my head, just wasn't happening. And when those routines disappear, everything else starts going downhill with them. Exercise, movement, getting outside, they're not just hobbies, they're maintenance for your brain. There's solid research behind this. Studies published in journals like the Lancet Psychiatry have shown that people who exercise regularly report significantly fewer days of poor mental health compared to those who don't. Exercise literally changes brain chemistry. It increases endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, all that stuff that helps regulate mood and reduce stress. So when you stop moving, you're not just missing a workout, you're removing one of the things that keeps your mind stable. And that's exactly what was happening to me at the time. Stress was creeping in, my routine was falling apart, and I had this moment where I thought, if I keep pushing like this, I'm just going to burn out. And burnout isn't just some buzzword people throw around online. The World Health Organization actually recognizes burnout as an occupational phenomenon. They define it with three main components: emotional exhaustion, feeling mentally distant or cynical about your job; reduced professional effectiveness. In simple terms, you feel drained, you stop giving a shit. And your performance drops because your brain is running on fumes. That's burnout. And once you're there, it's harder to recover. So instead of waiting until I hit that point, I decided to do something simple. I stopped. I called in sick and said exactly what it was. I'm taking time to look after my mental health. Now, I know some people listening to this might be thinking, well, that's easy for you. And that's fair. Some people don't get sick pay. Some people are in jobs where taking time off feels impossible. I completely understand that reality. But here's the bigger point. Even if it costs me money to take those days off, the long-term benefits are still worth it. Because pushing yourself into the ground doesn't make you stronger. It just makes you burn out and miserable. Research from the American Psychological Association has shown that chronic stress doesn't just affect your mood, it impacts sleep, concentration, immune function, and even cardiovascular health. In other words, stress will slowly start fucking up your body as well as your mind. So pretending you're fine when you're not isn't strength, it's denial. And a lot of people live in that denial for years. They keep pushing, they keep grinding, keep showing up every day even though they're mentally exhausted. And eventually something gives. Sometimes it's burnout, sometimes it's anxiety, sometimes it's depression. Sometimes it's just waking up one day and realizing you're completely miserable. And the frustrating thing is that most of this can be avoided by doing something simple. Taking a step back before you hit that point. For me, those few days off were about resetting, getting back to basics, moving again, going for a walk, getting outside, sleeping properly, switching my brain off from work for a bit. And looking back now, I'm really glad that I did it. Because within a couple of days, something interesting happened. My patience came back, my head felt clearer, I stopped feeling constantly on edge. And I realized just how much tension I'd been carrying around without even noticing it. Your brain needs recovery the same way your body does. Think about athletes for a second. They don't train at maximum intensity every single day. They train hard and then they recover, because if they didn't, they'd break down physically. Muscle tears, performance drops, injuries happen. Your brain works the exact same way. Mental stress without recovery leads to the psychological equivalent of injury, burnout. But modern work culture doesn't really acknowledge that. Instead, it glorifies exhaustion. People brag about working ridiculous hours, about never taking holidays, about always being busy and stressed, as if being constantly overwhelmed somehow means you're successful. But when you actually look at the research on productivity, the opposite is true. Rested people perform better, clearer minds make better decisions. People who manage stress effectively are more consistent long term. So taking time to reset isn't slacking, it's maintenance. It's protecting that thing that allows you to function properly in the first place, your mind. And if you're listening to this right now and something I'm saying is hitting a bit close to home, maybe you're feeling it too. You're tired all the time, you're snapping at people, little things annoy the hell out of you. You've stopped doing things that normally make you feel like yourself. That's your brain waving a big red flag saying, slow the fuck down for a minute. You don't have to wait until everything collapses before you start looking after yourself. Go for a walk, go to the gym, switch off your phone for a bit. Take the day if you can. Do something that brings you back to yourself. Because the version of you that comes back after resetting is always better than the version of you that keeps pushing until you completely burn out. And the reality is this: you're far more useful to the world as a healthy, stable, clear-headed person than you are as a stressed, exhausted, irritable one. Looking after yourself isn't selfish, it's responsible. And it's something more people need to start doing before they reach breaking point. If this episode resonated with you, make sure you follow the podcast for more conversations like this. And if you know someone who's been running themselves into the ground lately, send this episode to them. They might need to hear it. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.